Yeah, well, until recently there hadn't been a lot, and then they kind of just started.
Well, it was all cast. It was like, I was over. Well, we should get started.
Welcome to Another Turning. I'm Jesse, and my brother Ben and I are on a quest to inform everyone about the upcoming Amazon adaptation of Wheel of Time, our hopes, our fears, and our grand opinions. Follow along as we revisit some of the history of the series' path to the screen and predict what is yet to come.
Welcome to the next episode of Another Turning.
Today we're going to celebrate 1 year of the podcast and, I don't know, give you guys a bit of an update on us, an update on the show, and just kind of chat for a bit.
Yeah, so first of all, we've been doing this, well, a little over a year now because, it's getting, we're already halfway through January by the time we record this. And it's just, we hit, 100 subscribers on YouTube finally.
Yeah,
which is a big milestone.
We're at 107 the day we're recording this.
Yeah, I think we're almost at 1,000 total downloads, at least through Podbean, and I don't know if it tracks it through other podcasting sites also, or if it's.
I think it's all. I actually don't know.
But we're sitting at 912 right now for all-time downloads, so we're almost at 1,000, and it's like this is kind of one episode to kind of combine all the different kind of milestones together. That's how I go.
Sounds reasonable.
Plus, obviously there's been throughout the month of December and January so far, there's been some they've done mostly casting announcements through WoTTube on Prime, but recently they've been showing us some concept art and some bigger announcements, it feels like, outside of the casting department.
Yeah, I don't know what changed. I don't know if maybe what it was that they decided to kind of open the floodgates with these video clips they've been giving us.
Yeah, it's been very interesting. I've been keeping an eye on them, and I have opinions. I think we talked about it, but not on it's not.
Do we want to start? Yeah, do we want to start with that stuff, and then we can get into our own lives and things?
Well, I don't know. I wanted to start because I listened to a bunch of different podcasts, and I listened to the Wheel Reads, and they always talk about their analytics and where people are listening from, and I've never really looked through where all the different people who download our podcast are from, and it is really impressive how many different countries we have on here.
Well, tell us more about that. I was just checking YouTube, but YouTube isn't telling us, so.
26 countries to include, of course, the United States, Canada, English-speaking places, but we got a bunch of different places that are like ones or twos, but let's see, Belgium is probably the lowest with consistent downloads, potentially at 8, with Austria right above that, the Ukraine,
Wow. I'm trying to think if I know anyone from these places. I'm like,
I was about to say, there are people within the fandom. I forget where the one person who actually helped us with who did the art for our updated logo art. I feel bad for forgetting, but she's like from like Bulgaria or somewhere in Europe.
Eastern
That's
Europe.
not your Eastern, I believe. I don't want to be quoted on that, but obviously our top ones for the most part, we got United States, UK, Canada, India, then Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, a lot of heavily English speaking areas, but
which makes sense because we speak English.
Yes. Then Germany, Israel, Netherlands, Sweden, Colombia.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of members of the community and where they're from, and I know there's a few different like Nordic people that I've had some good conversation with. Wheel of Time's a pretty international community, all things considered, so that's really exciting.
That's what I should have brought up maybe is who did it on Twitter that did the maps of what did he call it?
I haven't looked at that in years. Not in years.
It's only been up for like a year.
Yeah, well, 2020 was 12 years and one.
Oh, I guess true. Very much so. I don't know if there's a way I can look on it on my phone.
Yeah, I'd have to go digging for it to even find it. I'm looking, so let's see. On YouTube, unfortunately, we don't have enough views. I don't know when enough views are that YouTube starts giving us information. So we don't have anything for like geography or the age and gender of our audience.
Well, let's
But
see. I just pulled it up on my phone because it's through Google Maps. And so I have it saved connected to my own Google Maps. And I don't know the exact number, but we're sitting at, let's see, there's a number 275 on here. And got a couple down in South America, a couple in different parts of Africa, almost nothing in Asia, nothing down in Australia on the map.
Well, and I wonder, I would have to look into it. That could correlate to the translations of Wheel of Time that have been made.
Could be.
Because other than Japanese, I don't know that there's any.
What? Oh, specifically talking about like Asian cultures for
Like the translations. So Wheel of Time, different languages.
It's translated in, I know it's over 20. I want to say it's like 60 different languages, but that sounds too high.
Well, let's see. According to the wiki, which I know isn't entirely accurate, because when I was doing my slog thing, I had several different people message me and be like, you're missing this language. But according to the wiki, there's Bulgarian, Dutch, Finnish, French, German, Hebrew, Italian, Japanese, Polish, Serbian, Spanish, Swedish, Portuguese, and Persian. But I also know not all of these are finished. Like the Portuguese in particular, I know I've had a conversation with somebody that they haven't all been translated. But the only East Asian translation there is Japanese. So like if there's a hole in the Wheel of Time community in Asia, it's because it's probably not very available there.
It's also, I mean, we're talking about it was a post put out on Twitter of Time by an English speaker. It might not have gotten spread to non-English speakers. And when I say English speakers, I mean, obviously your Americans, United Kingdom people, and then a majority of your European, specifically Western European countries. If they don't speak English, it's a surprise because unlike in our schools that they're really bad about teaching second languages and you get a choice of it, over in a lot of those schools, English is a second language very early on. I mean, did the foreign exchange stuff through high school and you'd know more, at least with Germany, on how they handle it.
Yeah, well, I know when I did my exchange in high school, I mean, and that's of course a matter of like, it's very complicated. I'm not even gonna, as the American here, we're both American, I'm not gonna even pretend like I know what like it's actually like there, but I know that like a lot of even like at preschool they're teaching them English. And there have been programs in the US to try to do stuff like that with the Spanish and Mandarin, because I know Nate, when he was in like first grade, they were teaching him Spanish.
Spanish has been a thing. The Mandarin is something I've heard of coming up. And it is very
usually in more affluent neighborhoods that's a big thing. But anyway, it's neat though. It's a good international community. I think we could work a little harder to try to get to those areas, but I'm not going to be the person that knows how to solve that.
All right, Jesse, this is the first step. You have to go through and you have to make a German translation for all of our stuff.
God.
No. But that's the only thing we could do without really poorly translated using like Google Translate or something. So you would, but no, I'm only kidding. So which update or what updates do you want to talk about first? We can kind of talk about the cast. We could talk about the more recent ones.
Is there anything particular? I guess we can start with the cast if there's anything of interest you want to mention about the cast. But
I mean, if the only big thing is I know I have controversy. I'm not a fan of the Min casting, but
we did talk about that. We talked about it with Nate. We had an episode with Nate on that we talked about that.
Were we on? Did we already talk about that on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can never remember what we talk about.
Yeah, so we did. I don't think there's any casting updates to talk about, unless you want to talk about Madeline Madden, uh, who plays Egwene,
What about her?
switched agencies.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I don't know.
It's
I
not
didn't know.
important.
I know we've talked about some of this stuff, and this is what I mean by I don't keep track what we talk about, other than I know what the episode as a whole was about. So this is the first time to kind of like, if we haven't talked about it, here's a time to talk
Caught
about
up.
it. If
Let
we
me
want
bring
to.
up. Let's see. Well, let's talk about the newer stuff because I know we haven't talked about that.
Well,
I
let's go
get?
with
Yeah,
what was
go
the
ahead.
first thing? The Heron Marked Blade with the first of what I'm considering the new era of announcements.
Yeah, well, we could talk.
Or-
There's been 2 prop reveals we can talk about. So the first of those was the Heron Blade.
Which I should have. See, I don't prep for anything because, I'm
I
horrible.
did. I pulled up the screenshots from their video, but I didn't bring up the Heron Blade one.
Older stuff.
So that blade, I mean, I think it's cool. I do think, and I'm not even going to get into the weird nonsense drama that happened around this, but I think the blade is really,
I didn't
really
know
cool.
there was nonsense drama around this.
People were like, never, yeah, real quick. It was basically like the Wheel of Time official account and Sarah Nakamura both made a single post that was like, we're excited for the announcement tomorrow. Then the Wheel of Time fandom got super overhyped. And then it was the Heron Sword, and everybody was like, that was it. And it got people really upset. It was a whole thing.
Okay.
But I thought it was cool. My only concern, and I know it's this, there's not one on the hilt. Why isn't there a heron on the hilt?
Dang it. The video was playing and I didn't have it actually open what they had.
Here, let me see. Open this image. There we go. I will go ahead and
I mean, they
do
did
it
have it specifically. They only mention in the line they highlight or another heron etched into the steel. Oh,
right. That's the line they highlight. And I'm not going to that's the line they specifically highlighted. But if you look at 1, the description of the sword, but 2, also, it's kind of important for later events for there to be one in the hilt.
True. Not specifically. Yeah. There's a lot with probably my biggest issue, other than you have that, and because of more recent announcements and some of the things that Rafe has popped on and done his Instagram interviews or other things, I am very much so. This show is going to be much farther from the books, in my opinion, than I originally was hoping. A lot is going to change. I could easily see them, and this is something that we're talking about later events, and I guess I'm just going to put this out there now before we talk more. There will be spoilers probably for the first 2 books, but I'm going to try very hard not to spoil anything outside of the first 2 books.
If for some reason you have to say something about it, you can warn at that time. But yeah, I don't see us. Yeah, first 2 books, spoiler warning. Yeah, but I don't know. It's the whole twice and twice he shall be marked thing. Like, are they going to change that? Are they going to change the way it happens? And Rafe has talked about that in one of his Q&As about the fact that every change you make, you have to explore all of the ramifications. So something as simple as they decided not to put a heron on the hilt, and people have mentioned it might be on the other side of the hilt. So it's possible.
The design, it doesn't work for it anyways. Honestly, what I dislike most about this, and this goes back to how things are changing, and so talking about the casting, kind of to include with my comment here, they're very diverse in their casting. Mm-hmm. To the point of it looks like Emmons Field itself, and obviously I'm not going to get into huge, but Emmons Field itself is diverse, which makes it seem as though the whole world is going to be diverse.
Probably.
Which is fine, but then I see something like this and some of the other things is going to be, other than the fact that they diversified the way people look physically, like skin color, hair color, everything else is going to be very monoculture-esque, it seems. I don't know what the...
Well, I think, what do you mean by that?
The big reason I enjoyed the concept of the Heron Mark blade was it was an Eastern blade with a Western Hilton guard.
Well, specifically Tam's was, yeah. So,
well, yeah. And there
yeah.
was always the mixings of cultures to make all of Robert Jordan's cultures. And I'm starting to...
I don't think they're going to do that, though. I don't think they're going to... Maybe they will, but if you read here, I can switch over to this tab, is Rafe Dredkin's Q&A. And the one thing he talked about specifically is... Was this it? No, that's not it. One of the things in this Q&A was very specifically about that he made sure the Heron blade looked different and unique based on the culture of where the blade is coming from.
But then again, okay, you don't have to find it. But so is this not Tam's Heron Mark blade?
Well, that was one of my theories. I still think it's probably Tam's. But one of my theories was it could be Lance. Now, in the books, Lance's sword doesn't have a heron on it. But I was saying one way this show could simplify things is make it, because there are regular swords, there are heron marked swords, and there are power wrought swords. And not all power wrought swords are heron marked, and not all heron marked swords are power wrought. I was saying they might simplify it that any power wrought blade is heron marked, just because that's a very easy visual cue for viewers to know, like, who he pulls out a blade, it's got a heron on it. One, we know he's a really good fighter, but also we know that's a super unique, cool sword.
The power wrought thing, when you really look at it, when you go from the books to the show, is so minuscule of a detail, it really doesn't matter. The only time it comes up in comparison is specifically Land's sword versus Rand's sword.
Well, because Land's sword is also power wrought.
But isn't a heron marked blade. That is the only time it comes up.
Which is why I'm saying they might just make all power wrought swords heron marked, and maybe this is Land's sword, the sword of Malchiari Kings.
What I always found interesting is talking about the swords is because if I remember right, Land's sword has a similar blade to Rand's sword. It's mentioned, I think.
I think so.
And what I always found interesting, this is how I always thought about the power wrought blade. All power wrought blades are katana blades, but not necessarily with a Hilton guard of a katana. I don't know. Because of the whole concept of the katana, the super folded steel. And this is, I tried not to put thoughts in the author's head, but I think the author, Robert Jordan, possibly was thinking it's classic and more actually newer fantasy or anime or other shows and stuff. A katana is the epitome of a blade. It's the sharpest and hardest blades you always see in media. So he just kind of substituted a katana blade as power forged.
Maybe.
And then
I do like what Rafe had said about different cultures, because he talked about it, one, in terms of the clothing, but also in terms of the weapons. And I like the idea that blade masters from different nations wouldn't necessarily have the same blade.
And see, this is why I think the other reason I go with the whole katana blade for the power forged, or heron blades at least, is we get to a point in the series with the concept of it being a power forged blade is it's not the guard, it's not the handle, none of that is what's special. It's just the blade. So you could make it that the guard and handle is what denotes the culture it comes from, but make all the blades the same for heron mark.
But why would they all necessarily be the same, unless it was like the same smith that made all of these blades that made it like there's...
We're talking about what's supposed to be, considering they were, well, again, this is the power forged versus heron mark, is if we're saying, because the power forged, I could see them all being the same because they were made during the same time period.
That's true.
It could be, like I said, I compare it to the katana, is they had to be made a specific way that just lends to a specific shape.
Right. I don't know. I think of the one, and we're going to talk about the next two announcements, I think that one honestly was the least interesting, but I still think it's cool. And I think it's cool. The Q&A afterwards was really neat. And I think it's cool to see what went into it. Like the whole video is really cool. It shows like the little snippet of what they took it from and the sketch and everything. It was really cool.
Oh yeah, and I'm not a 3D designer. I've done some like AutoCAD classes or other things like that, so I know some idea of digital software used for making images, and it is cool to see that kind of stuff. And I've seen other things, and um, I'm gonna skip to, well, I watched for the most recent one. I was watching I forget whose was it, Unraveling the Patterns video, was saying that all of these things we're seeing is hinting at some, like, behind the scenes, like featurette is
I
how they
know. I
feel
can't wait.
all these announcements. And he made a comment, I believe it was his video, like Game of Thrones was doing it, like at the end of each episode they had a little featurette with
Oh,
behind the
really?
scenes thing and why they made decisions. I think in, like, I don't know if they did it in the early seasons, but it would be like after the show, stay tuned, and it would be like another half an hour or whatever. Stranger
Oh.
Things on Netflix did it. It was a
They did
separate
it.
series
Yeah, they did a separate
with their
series, which is
second
something
season.
that's kind of become a pretty common theme, like
Yeah,
in shows, especially on like online streaming
streaming
stuff.
platforms. Yeah,
I
and
hope so. I
doing
hope
like a
they do a cool like behind the scenes thing. It almost feels like
and
we're
like,
getting that before the show comes out. Like Rafe talking about the
well,
decision making and stuff like that feels a little like that.
I know, but it's also this is why I'm still want to binge watch the whole series straight, because that's how I am. We're getting, and the biggest concept people talk about is hype, and I'm like, we are getting literally over a whole year's worth of hype before the show even comes out.
Well, and it's funny because the Wheel of Time. I mean, this what Watt on Prime is doing, what Rafe Judkins is doing, is so incredibly unique. Like The Witcher didn't get anything like this. There are people waiting for Amazon's Lord of the Rings that have heard still don't even know what the show's really going to be about. Like this is so incredibly unique for this, and I think it says a lot
Yeah.
about the fandom, and I think it says a lot about the production team and how excited
I
we
would
are
be
for this.
curious. I'd be curious to see the analytics, if possible, if there's any way for them to track it, to see how much non-Wheel of Time fans, like non-Twitter of Time people, are becoming interested. Like,
Well, if you look back at their, and this ended a while ago, and I really hope they bring it back up in future seasons. But when they did the book club for Eye of the World, there were a lot of people that were reading for the first time.
but I'm not talking about readers. I'm talking about, your
Right,
people
but
who are,
that's people like, where do you think they heard about it? Like, yes, now they've read
true.
Eye of the World, but it's not like they had to have gotten to it. So that's,
Well,
I mean,
I'm talking about non-book readers. I'm curious
oh,
because
people that just don't read at all. I don't know. I
aren't
mean,
readers. They haven't done anything though.
so I
It's not like there's
have
been an
the
official trailer or.
right. Well, currently I have the guitar video up, and it has had 106,000 views.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
how
that's not a
much
very useful
viewers, and
number,
it's not
but
like on our YouTube where we can see, like, unique viewer
well, and I think
numbers and stuff.
they have access to that. Let me look because I know with tweets, like there is a certain amount of analytics you can see for a tweet when you post it.
Yeah,
So
for your own
like,
personal posts and stuff.
yeah, so I don't think I can see that for them, but like I can look at this thing I posted and it's got, 211 people have seen the tweet, 9 people engaged with it,
Yeah.
you know.
I'd be really curious because I guess just because they're not doing anything. This is purely for book fans, which is so interesting too. Because I
Right.
know the main Amazon Prime account hasn't been doing stuff, because I know they'll do it when a series is about to come out, because it was for The Boys season 2, is you'll get tweets that are like advertisement tweets from them that'll pop up.
Yeah, no, this is so incredibly interactive. Oh God, somebody, bless their heart, somebody in Ridima server, and I wish I could remember who it was, had posted something about like Amazon give us more more Nynaeve content in your announcements, and like Amazon, they're like whatever it is, their customer service team replied to them. And they're like, "How do we help you with this?"
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah, I
no.
saw that. I will say, and obviously I think this partially comes down to some decision was made in the Amazon company, I would say probably October-ish, about, I would say that either pretty much when they stopped, it would have been November when they stopped being in the Czech Republic for the second time after they had gone back to recording.
Yeah,
some decision was made because they obviously employed a full-time person or group of people to handle their Twitter account.
Right. But I also,
because it's been super interactive.
And that says to me, and now granted, I actually don't know anything about this business, so I'm just making this up. But that says to me they have to have a pretty solid idea of when this is coming out, which says to me that filming has to be more or less done because they're not too concerned about pandemic affecting their schedule anymore.
Well, yeah, I'd say one or two things. It could have been also is, well, when the pandemic first happened, they were like, this isn't that big of a deal of a break. You know, we have plenty of content. They went back to recording. Then there was like a second stop. And if they are far away, they're like, you know what, screw it. This throws everybody off. People are quarantining for a second time after a small respite. Let's just pull out all the stops and interact with the fans. That's the
But they wouldn't have these announcements. Like this kind of, at least to me, this kind of announcement thing says they know they have enough announcements they can make to get them to the show.
True, I agree with that too.
That's what it looks like to me.
Because they went
interactive thing,
huge dead space before this started up again.
Right, and that was between the filming, and that makes sense because like filming shut down. They didn't know, and I'm sure at that point, one, they didn't know how long the lockdowns were going to last, but two, they didn't know like then when they'd be able to release it. Now it seems like even though they're not filming anymore, they don't think this is going to seriously impact their schedule.
Oh,
That's what it looks like to me.
I'm a firm believer that at the second time that the casting cut, and technically we don't know when, it wasn't because it started out with the one director went home, but we didn't get an announcement that they were stopped filming officially until shortly after that.
I don't even know if we ever got an official announcement, but
I don't
like
remember.
Everybody, all the actors and stuff went home.
Yeah, but it was slow. I am a firm believer that they are done with all main shooting. They have maybe some reshots to do and maybe seasonal specific stuff that they got screwed over with
because they had to shift to the winter for filming. Yeah.
Which depending on what that is, they might either they're going to have to postpone it ridiculously if it was planned for like a spring or summer release. It's going to be a huge postponement if they need to like film in the summer or something and they need to make reshots in the summer.
True.
Or we might get some CGI and stuff where they weren't originally planning it. I personally think it's all in mostly post-production stuff.
Yeah, I think at this point, that's where I still feel pretty confident about a late summer 2021 release.
I saw somebody see a post about it jokingly, and I wouldn't, except I don't think I've ever seen Amazon do it, but a trailer for the Super Bowl.
This is, well, see, Nablus had thought they were going to have a trailer for the 2020 Super Bowl, which was very overambitious. I think maybe teaser at the 2021 Super Bowl. I don't think a full trailer, but I think maybe a teaser.
Teasers.
Yeah, but like there's a difference between like I mean, these are like behind the scenes kind of teaser things, but I'm thinking like a 10 to 30 second like teaser.
I think the only reason they would only do a teaser for this, if they were going to do anything at the Super Bowl, let's just say 100% they're releasing something Wheel of Time related for the Super Bowl. The only reason they would do a teaser instead of a trailer, because I think both would be done already. Can guarantee they almost have a trailer. It's all just cutting stuff together for the trailer. Is they don't feel like spending the money to drop the full trailer at the Super Bowl and think a teaser is good enough.
Because I think
or
conversations I've had is that generally the actual push is usually the last 3 months before filming or before the premiere. So I'm thinking August premiere is what I think. I think it's going to come out in August, which means they're probably not going to start pushing until May, maybe April. which means that like a teaser trailer, like a 30-second quick teaser trailer coming out in February for the Super Bowl, gives them like another month and a half until they do a full trailer, is what I would think. Give us, an
Maybe.
official release date, give us the official logo, let us hear some real music, maybe some shots, but nothing too big.
True, it's possible. I don't know. I just, like I said, I think I could see June.
I think maybe. I don't know.
Earliest.
The
I'm saying
August thing
earliest.
for me is set really on all those, that like analytic thing that I did of like looking at when Amazon normally releases their stuff, and August is just the highest probability. That's when the most of their original shows come out. That's really all I'm basing it on. So
True.
all right, let's look at the next one here, which was Tom's guitar. Gotta make that full screen.
Oh God. This.
You're not liking it.
Well, we talked about it over the holidays while you were here, I believe, correct?
Yeah, we did talk about it.
It's hard. I want to bring my opinion out here, but I don't want to have the same conversation. But I mean, my biggest thing is I can accept, because you made some arguments about why they could have changed it, and I can accept the reasons why they would change it to a guitar. I personally, my personal biggest issue with it is I look at this and I'm like, it's a guitar.
Right.
Tom
and I do think it
has a golden inlaid harp and golden and silver flute.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a little simple. It doesn't quite fit Tom. But I kind of think it's cool. And I think it'll give Wheel of Time something a little more unique, something a little unexpected. And I don't know. I mean, we're also only seeing the front of it, which I don't really know why they do decorative stuff on the back, but there might be stuff around the edge.
The other thing, and I didn't bring this up when we talked about it, is when you introduce him having a guitar, he might still have a flute. We don't know. He might have another instrument. We don't know. I still think it'd be funny if he then had a tambourine, and that's what he teaches Rand
Triangle.
and Matt. I'm talking like we might as well make a whole spoof off of this. But is
cowbell.
Everybody has a certain musical style they think of probably when you think fantasy, which is, I can understand getting away from it. But now you introduce a guitar.
Yeah.
So he's going to be playing these songs with a guitar. And I know in the books, Robert Jordan didn't go into music as much as, say, Lord of the Rings, which I swear is a musical after reading the books.
Oh, yeah.
But it changes the tone a lot in the music.
I don't think it has to. I think an acoustic guitar can come across very similarly to a lute or a mandolin.
Maybe, but
I don't know. I do hope he has a second instrument, though. I think it'd be very strange if he doesn't have a second instrument. I don't know. Something about him teaching Rand guitar doesn't sit well with me. Him having a guitar doesn't bother me. Him teaching Rand guitar seems wrong.
Also, well, first of all, let me give my one comment. I will say the one thing, and kind of what you mentioned about the guitar being unique, is it is going to very much so subvert expectations. I think those are the right words.
Yeah.
Because even in the music, the way things are going to come across. But the guitar, unless, again, this is how are they going to change other things? Okay, we'll take when Tom, we're not spoiling things, right?
We're talking first two books.
Okay, when he separates, because that comes up in the second book. I had to rethink for a second. I wanted to know if I should say he dies.
Yeah, well,
or not.
Yeah, when he dies. Well,
and he pushes the guitar, the harp and the flute, and carrying around the guitar, if it's not what he plays, and having that stored is such awkward thing for everything goes through.
That doesn't really bother me that much. I think it's fine. Although I think,
Tom's not going to get killed off.
I don't think he is.
That's not going to happen.
I don't think he is. And honestly, I'm okay with it. First off, I still 1,100 incredibly think Tom should just die and actually be dead. But I know I'm the only one of that opinion. I don't
Tam
think he's
might as well die then.
No. I like Tam. I don't like Tom.
Might as well turn this into Game of Thrones with the amount of people they kill off at that point.
I just have a very low opinion of Tom. Anyway, but the fake out death thing is dumb. Nobody believes it. None of the readers believe it. It cheapens death. It takes away some stakes because people don't actually believe characters are. Fake out deaths are bad. People don't like them anymore. It's just not good.
I don't know what else has fake out deaths.
Lots of things. Game of Thrones, well, either fake out deaths or resurrections. But between the two of them, it's a trope people are sick of seeing. It's much more, you see it more in books than you do in shows just because it's harder to pull off in shows. But it's not something people like. So maybe Tom doesn't die. I don't really think it impacts the story that much. It really doesn't. He could get separated for another reason. He can end up with a different group after Shatter Logoth. I think it's possible he's just not going to die. And I'm kind of okay with that.
See, when I read it, I can't remember if I really thought it. I think having it still the concept of him getting separated that way, because the fact that it pushes the instruments onto Matt and Rand, it forces Matt and Rand to fend for themselves.
Right. And I think that's an important element.
What I would have had the changes is make it obvious for us that he didn't die.
Which it's still possible that's what it is. Maybe Rand doesn't end up carrying his guitar, or maybe Rand just has a guitar for a season. Like, it's not the end of the world.
God, let's just make him more of a douchey character for the first season.
Anyway, this is Dragon Wall.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem with the guitar, is there's going to be so much ability to just make fun of the show for it. In good-heartedness. And it's going to be...
Yeah, I do think that Tom's death is going to be different. I don't know how it's going to be different, but it's going to be different. My hope, they just kill him. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's my hope. But it's definitely going to be different. I just don't like Tom.
Important.
I don't like Tom.
Whatever.
We don't have to talk about spoilers, but literally everything. No, he's a creepy old man. I hate his whole thing in the second book with Denna. I hope they cut that. I think it's disgusting. Anyway.
What, a love story?
With a girl a quarter of his age?
Do you realize how many of those there are in the books?
Yeah, it's creepy. Robert Jordan had an age gap issue.
It's fantasy, usually based off medieval ages.
I'm not buying that whole thing. No. Anyway.
People just can't separate themselves from the reading.
That's not true. First off, critical reading and reading things from the perspective of real life is a totally valid way of reading and a very important skill to have.
It depends on what you're looking for in your reading.
Anyway, so like this.
There's a reason why I think the Shan Chant are beautiful, beautiful culture.
So this last announcement then that they did their video, and I'm not going to show the video, but I'll go through the pictures that they posted of it, and we can kind of talk about the pictures, because I don't think there was anything. It was Rafe talking. It was very sweet.
Yeah. So I feel dumb about this one is because I made a comment on your tweet, and then I realized other people had already made the comparison, is because there was a photo, I can't remember if it was official or leaked, of Yosha on a cliffside with like the makeup person in front of him, and he has a jacket over his shoulders. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it made me think of this.
Okay, well, but I don't know what scene this could be. This is the one of all of the pictures. I have no idea what this is. It's obviously Rand and Matt on this cliff. But
unraveling the pattern, I guess somebody on Geeky Yuri's did a video, found the actual location in real life that this is based off of. Mm-hmm. And then he was talking about how it looks like they probably took a real thing, and then like the people and like the little camp down there and stuff was all like photoshopped in.
Right.
I don't
Which
know.
is
This
what
is
it looks like. And it's just so confusing to me. So like the two possibilities that make sense to me. Well, yeah, the two that I was thinking, the one guess could be White Bridge, but like that's not White Bridge.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
And
Somebody said that, and I'm like, no, that's not White Bridge. It's obvious it's not White Bridge.
the other
This
thought I
is
had,
concept art.
right, it's concept art. The other thing I was thinking was maybe it could be them in the mountains of mist somewhere, but like, why would there be these shops and things? Like, that doesn't make
Um,
sense.
I mean, I should have probably not watched anything, but like I said, I watched
No,
the
that's
routing
fine.
patterns video. I think he said he thinks it's probably somewhere after White Bridge before
Canelan.
Canelan,
Yeah,
which
I
makes
mean,
sense.
if it's
It's the
Matt and
most
Rand on
logical
their own,
sense.
here's,
Also,
yeah.
why does Rand have both the bow and the sword? If that's Rand with the sword there, and Matt has a walking
So
stick.
it makes sense to me that Rand had a bow when they left too.
It broke,
Did it break?
or he lost it, or something.
He had a bow
Not
through the
after they get
second.
separated.
He has a
He gets
bow
a
in the second. I'm
he gets a
literally.
new
Oh, he
he
gets a
gets
new
a
one?
new bow when he's after the Eye of the World.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so they have bows, whatever. I like that Matt has a staff. One of the things I've said that I hope they change is I hope they give Matt a quarterstaff from the beginning, because Rand and Perrin have weapons from the very beginning that are symbolic of their journey that they keep throughout the thing. Matt starts with a bow and ends up with a staff, a polearm. I think him starting with a quarterstaff makes so much sense for him.
He can have a quarterstaff with him, but it would not come up for use at all.
Why not? He could just as easily fight with a quarterstaff as Perrin. Well, couldn't do it from horseback.
You do not fight Trollocs with a quarterstaff.
Why not?
When you have a bow.
If they're up close, you're not fighting them with a bow.
You would be better off
knives. The other option there is that it's just an unstrung bow staff.
I know.
But
that first Trolloc encounter with them, there's a reason why Matt's the one that almost gets pulled off his horse. He does not have a good weapon. And
he wouldn't be able to fight from horseback with that anyway. But like, I think
that's not a quarterstaff. That's a walking stick.
That's true. It is. But like, I think the idea of him having some sort of staff or polearm from the beginning would make sense. And we know they use quarterstaffs in the Two Rivers. So why can't he just leave with a quarterstaff?
As well as a bow. I agree. I'm not going to have anything against that. I'm just saying he won't end up using it, really.
Maybe. Then going on, the second picture is this one, which is probably aesthetically my favorite of all the pictures.
I know.
It's just so pretty. I don't have much to say about it other than it's pretty.
And I mean, this one's probably one of the most obvious ones. It's got to be
Winter Night, Beltane. Yeah, it's interesting. Like,
the only other possibility, and this is a little bit of an outlier, if they want to, and this goes with changing things, this could be New Year's Eve, aka the Feast of Lights, which I think comes around New Year's Eve for them. If they pull the story back.
If they change it. Well, Rafe already said something about you get to see Beltane. Something about that.
Yeah, you see more of it, but
and this matches
so many lights. That's why I say it is if they were to. I mean, this.
But it's supposed to be a festival celebrating the coming of spring, so like the idea of light makes sense for that.
I know. I guess because there are some windows that aren't lit, it can't be the Feast of
Lights. And the other thing was with Winter Night, don't they all put candles in their windows too to like welcome people?
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. And I just, the colors in this are good. The costuming they have them in is so, I love it.
Although this isn't the kind of celebration that Winter Night is. Winter Night is actually a more solemn thing where they go from house to house. Beltane is the celebration.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's one or the other. But the only thing, and I mean, this is stupid, simple, and kind of dumb to even bring up. I'm bothered by how healthy this tree and the grass looks. It's supposed to be like the dead of winter. Even though it's
concept art.
Yeah. Anyway.
Actually, what I think in this makes me make me had a thought, because they said we're going to see more of Beltane. I don't think we're going to. I'm almost down. I want to put this down on paper as my new prediction. And looking at this, is we're going to see Winter Night, and then we're going to see the day of Beltane, and it's going to be towards the end of the Beltane celebrations when the Trollocs attack.
Yeah, so I've heard a few different theories of how this is going to happen. I like that they're going to spend more time in the Two Rivers. I think it's going to be important for us to see more of the people, to have a little more impact there. One idea is that Beltane is like a 2-day celebration. One thing is something like that. The only thing is then they have to explain why not more people were hurt, because the whole thing was the reason the Trollocs, it was a problem. The Trollocs attacked on Winter Night. They hurt less people because nobody was in their homes. But I'm sure they can find, or they could switch them. They could say Beltane is during the day and Winter Night is the night of Beltane. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it.
It would still make the whole thing, because then we could find out, then Rand wouldn't be at his camp. Everybody would be in the village green, so like the house is on the edge by the time they get to where all the people are.
Yeah, if they're still out and about.
It would still make sense for why people didn't get hurt.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see this scene play out, and like I can smell this picture right now. Like I'm just like imagining that. Yeah, you see this food here and you're like, I can smell the like roasting fire and the roasting meat, and you can hear it. You can hear the cheering and the singing. Ugh, makes me happy. This one. So Circle of Wagons. This is Tinkers.
That's the only one that makes sense. It's the only time we hear of wagon caravans.
Mm-hmm. And the look of these wagons are so reminiscent of Romani wagons that it's ridiculous.
Not much to say about it though.
It's another pretty picture. I like the idea. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be after Perrin is with them, because this guy could be Perrin. He's nice and big.
With the concept arts like this one that are, and the last one where it's much more art, less real stuff, they're just like characters drawn in for scale reasons.
Right. Well, and to see kind of the costuming and stuff and the kind of colors you might want to have playing off of each other and stuff. I don't know. This is gorgeous, though. They had said WoTTube Prime, I think it was replying to Nablis's video, said something about, so you guys want an art book? And I'm like, yes, I would love a concept art book.
Yeah.
I think it'd be,
I'll bring this up now then, is obviously the Dusty Wheel did a video, one of their live things to talk about this, and Rafe Judkins came on and answered some questions, and there was mention that I guess two of them, or what Daniel Green mentioned, two of them that he thinks were closest to the actual show, and one of them he was right on.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was. I'd have to look for this thread that was talking about it.
There's a lot of stuff that has been said about all of this. And
yeah, which ones are shot from actually from the show. I think that first one could very likely be one. I just think this one isn't, in my opinion, isn't likely, because this kind of overhead shot I don't foresee, but maybe.
It's all concept art.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, now I remember. We were talking about concept art. And the other thing Rafe said that I care about more than who cares whether or not which pictures are actually to the thing, was that they hired like 12 artists just to like draw out Moraine channeling.
Oh, I saw that was the first one they did, was Moraine channeling was the first piece of concept art they made.
Yeah, they hired like 12 or 15.
I want to see it. I want to see it.
I'll show you it. It's
No, I want to see the art, not the like post. Yeah, I want to see that art. So I want a book of their concept art when it's done. I just think it's so pretty.
Yeah, it is. It's, I want to see some of the nicer ones. Like this is that last one there was very much the Tinker one, the caravans. I forget we do this as a podcast, so people can't see what we're seeing. I feel bad.
I've tried to explain it.
But,
yeah.
this one is very much of a roughed out one.
But well, I think this one is probably the intent behind it is more about the wagons because those are
Yeah.
very detailed. Like if you're looking at them, you can see the color, you can see these like patterns in it. It's
Oh, I
really
know.
pretty.
Yeah.
So the next one here is what 7 people on horseback? Yeah, 7 people on horseback riding across a bridge.
Honestly, so this is what's funny about this one. I didn't realize this was concept art at first.
Yeah,
When it
this
first
one is
popped up.
good. This looks like it could be a photo. Yeah.
Until it was and then after, like I said, the other one is it's probably, I think it's a picture of an actual scenery.
The one with Rand and Matt on the cliff.
Similar to that, where this is actual like a photo of an area where they did filming and then they just mocked up like Photoshop.
Maybe. I'm not as sure on this one just because like I don't know, maybe it is. But this one, I mean, it's 7 people on horseback. I think it's probably working my way from the front back. I would probably say it's Lan, Moraine, Rand, Perrin, Egwene, Matt, and Nynaeve is who I
don't think
it is.
these are anybody.
You don't think it's specific
They're
characters?
just people.
Well, I think the one in the red, the girl in the red, was confirmed to be Egwene.
How? Why?
Well, because Ridima cropped that out and made it like her background on her phone and made a post about like, man, I love Egwene or something. I'd have to look at exactly what it was. And Watt on Prime like replied to it like, we knew you would love that.
First of all, none of these horses are Bella.
This could be Bella.
No, she's taller than other horses.
Whatever. It's perspective. But the one in front, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not, but I don't know why.
Look like Lan.
That first one look like first one does look like Lan.
No, he doesn't. That is not in any way, shape, or form a Lan.
Okay. Because these vague images of the backs of people's heads, you can definitely tell who they are. I don't see why would they make concept art of random people walking across a bridge?
But they obviously represent the people, but not in any deep detail, I don't think.
But like things like what order they're going to walk across, their horses are going to be going in, or something that's important for these framing of the shot, which is something that would be represented in the concept art.
Obviously, Lan has to have 2 swords on his back and be in armor, like on the Eye of the World cover.
God, I hope all right, I hate movie covers. I hate movie covers so much for books. But I just want them to recreate the original covers with the cast. I just want it.
Hilarious. I'm sorry, no, it's not Moiraine. I was thinking of the Path of Daggers cover art for the Kindle version where it's the 3 girls, and that is my concept art for channeling. You know what cover I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That is already concept art for what channeling looks like in my mind.
Yeah, but I don't think every channeling, because that was specifically
I know is the bold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like
spoil stuff.
Specifically a large amount of not very finely woven. Yeah. And
I was joking.
Yeah.
I thought there was other
there's some
did stuff like that.
There's some good pictures from the New Spring graphic novels that has some channeling that are really pretty.
This one, what's interesting is people kept saying how there's a tower in the distance and trying to guess what it is. And
right.
I almost think, like I said, that's weird for a concept art to go into the detail to put that back.
No, it could be though. Like that's what I'm saying. Like concept art is to show like this is how this scene might be framed out and things like that. And so if they do want to have like some tower in the background, I think it might not be anything. I really don't. I think people are making something out of nothing, but maybe it is something.
I think one thing is it being Shadow Logoth, that this is on their way to Shadow Logoth, but then again they were going.
They should be more panicked when they got there, and they should be more panicked.
Again, for filming, it could just be like positioning. Basic.
There's a couple possibilities. It could be the tower. Do they give it a name in the first book? Yeah, the Tower of Genji. Just
that
seen
makes
at
no sense whatsoever.
Why?
Considering it looks nothing like Tower of Genji
from this distance.
why is there a path that seems to be going straight towards it?
I guess it does look like it's in that direction. The other thing is it could be in the Blight, and it could be the first glimpse of Malkier.
Unless, but then again, with concept art, it would be bad to use a photorealistic picture for this, because the Blight is supposed to be very much corrupt. But then again, when they're racing through towards the end, right before they get to the eye, they do talk about the trees enclosing around them.
Yeah, they're like coming for them. It's creepy.
And scraping at them. It could be something like that. That would make sense, because it could be the Seven Towers, or
those are the big ones that would make sense for it. Is those
the reason
three.
I don't say the Tower of Genji is because the way this is done is obviously they're on a path with a bridge over top of a stream. And the fact of how the trees are cleared makes it an obviously walked path.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right. The way the path is going, it does look like it's going right towards the tower, and that wouldn't make sense. But I don't know. I was just thinking of towers in book 1.
Yeah, I know. I like the concept of it being towards Shatter Logoth, because later photo I actually really like that is, I think it's the next one.
Yeah, it's the last one. Is to describe for those of you that aren't watching this on YouTube, it's a man on a horseback riding through a city full of mist.
It's so this city, and I thought it was, I don't know if it extends more than if.
No, this is
the full photo. So it's very much got a Victorian-esque.
It's got what is this? Is that Gothic architecture?
No, it's not quite Gothic.
Well, I'm looking on the left side of this photo. There's like this, not photo, but the like pattern.
I don't know, but it's got like almost like high-rise apartment, but like, somewhat older style, with like in the distance you can see a dome.
Yeah. No, it does. It looks it's giving me very Notre Dame vibes, which is Gothic. But no, it's not quite.
But it's also giving me kind of like Rome vibes, with like an older New York City apartment style vibe.
It does have a little, there's some Brooklyn in there.
And this is why I like this so much, and why I said the last one I want to say that tower is the one thing how I almost somewhat pictured Shatter Logoth, Place in the Waste, without trying to give away spoilers, whatever, Ruidian, and what was the other place I was thinking of?
Tyr.
No, not Tyr. I thought there was something else.
Are you talking specifically like abandoned cities?
Oh, and Kyrian, when they talk about the
topless towers.
It made me always think of skyscrapers. Like, obviously not made of glass, although the one is kind of. And when you talk about like Tarvalon, it's very much so like
porcelain.
Porcelain-like. But I almost thought it was because they were like the last remnants of people trying to recapture the Age of Legends, is how I felt.
They could be. It'll be interesting.
That's why I like this is almost having a slightly modern but decrepit feel to it.
It does have that kind of, it has the same kind, it's like the opposite of when you look at like, when you go through like a city and there's always like older buildings within the city. It's got like that vibe to it.
And that's what I like about it. And I honestly, the Ogier built stuff would almost feel like, futuristic to the people in the world, like where they're too more modern looking, because it's trying to recapture the Age of Legends, when most of
the only reason I disagree with that though is because specifically Ogier built stuff is supposed to look like the natural worlds. They describe it as like waves, and so I don't think it would look modern.
It depends on how much. Because it was specifically Tarvalon where they mentioned, and that this probably isn't mentioned until later books, but that was the biggest one where the Ogier were allowed to kind of go ham on the whole nature
right
thing.
And we only really get a good description of the architecture of Tarvalon in New Spring, because we really don't spend a lot of time outside of the tower in Tarvalon.
And what's funny is, this actually makes me think of Kyrian, is because the whole aesthetic of Kyrian is very much a more uniform,
everything's in boxes,
streets like this. And so, okay, I would say the ancient cities, the Ogier inspired or built, because I don't think they built Shadow Logoth. Don't believe.
I don't think so.
But all of those great cities during that time trying to recapture the Age of Legends, I feel like they went one of two ways. This very like grid-like style of building of a city, or the more natural look of like Taravalon, and I'm assuming probably what Manetheren was like, that were more, well, no, that was man-made.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it has very Rome vibes. I think if I had to put like any like city, real world city on it, this has Rome vibes. And I think it
And
might just be the
it's
fact that
supposed
it's
to.
heading towards this big dome that looks Colosseum-esque.
Well, and it's supposed to, I should have brought it, but Shadow Logoth is supposed to have, they don't know what they are, but it's almost jokingly, I always thought about it, and this could be from what I've heard, is some of the domes they talk about. I'm like, is this supposed to be like a domed stadium, like a football stadium
Well, they
similar to
definitely
like,
have some sort of amphitheater that they
yeah, I
go
know,
through at one point. Whether it's
but the
supposed to be
size of,
Coliseum or football stadium, I couldn't tell you, but
but
some sort of amphitheater.
but size of them are like modern football stadium size,
Have
the
you
way
been
they
to the
describe
Coliseum?
them.
It's very large.
Can you fit 6 or 7 villages in it, or whatever they
Probably.
talk about? I don't know. I've never been.
All right. So that's
It's a,
been the recent Wheel of Time announcements.
and it's just, yeah, it's, I don't know. I'm excited for those. Those excited me. That's my favorite announcement of all of them that we've had.
Yeah. Oh, I will.
Also
And the thing is,
because
like, the Coliseum, for the record, is 6 acres large.
that's not that big.
It's pretty big.
That's not that big. What's a football stadium? What's an acre?
Acre to yards. Let's get 1 acre is 4,840 square yards. And a football field is probably, it's 120 by 100, I think. So 1 acre is like 4 football fields.
I knew it was something like that.
So the Coliseum is very large, Ben.
Wait, in total, a football field covers 57,600 square feet, or the
Okay, wait.
equivalent of 1.32 acres.
So a football field is like 1.3 acres. So the Coliseum is like 3 to 4
That's just
football
the
fields.
football field. I don't know. I never knew how big the Coliseum was, but in my mentality, all I could think of was like, when I think of large, I think of like, a football stadium, because that's what I've seen.
I don't care about seating capacity. Anyway, this is really unimportant. I'm just trying to prove a point.
I know. But yeah, no, the Coliseum's big, but no, it's just very exciting to me, and it's just, I don't know, I can't wait. I'm just,
So I looked up the seating capacity of the Coliseum was approximately more than 50,000 spectators could watch in the Coliseum. And the average seating capacity of a football stadium in the United States is 69,000 people. So they're about comparable.
Coliseum was, I don't know, it's just the fact that because they talk about them being domed, it makes me think of football
No, I
stadium.
get you. I get you. And honestly, it's more fun if it's a giant football stadium.
I just, like I said, I don't know, because for some reason, I always thought of like some of these cities around that time were just like the great cities before. Was that pre-Arthur Hawkwing or post-Arthur Hawkwing?
Shatter Logus. I actually don't know where that fits in the timeline.
It
Well, it fell during the Trolloc Wars.
So that would have been pre-Arthur Hawkwing.
Yeah. So would Manetheren.
Yeah. So those great cities I think they were the first great nations after the breaking. Was those
the
ones
10
that
nations,
rose up?
maybe.
Yeah. When I keep thinking about those, I think of them being like almost modern with some of their stuff, because I think they're still, close enough to the Age of Legends in people, like generations, where they were still trying to recapture that style, but maybe not having the ability to do it
It's
proper.
the same reason I love Luz Theron's costume in Winter Dragon. I think it's great.
Oh, I know. We've talked about it.
But anyway, so that's that. I think we're kind of out of time for any personal updates that we were going to do, but that's okay. Maybe we should do a Q&A.
We should. See, my biggest issue with any of that stuff is I know our internet, well, my internet here sucks too much to try to ever stream. I don't know if your internet's good.
Well, so I did the live show to start WoTTathon from there, and it was fine.
But that was specifically doing the basic just YouTube
right.
captures
So I
on
wonder
camera.
if I host it here and you just join using like StreamYard or something. Or even just okay, so like if more than one person is going to be in a thing for live, I know StreamYard is a big app people use for it, or I could probably even do Zoom if I can figure out how to get the screen capture.
Capture Zoom on OBS to go on YouTube.
On YouTube.
That's
well, I can't figure out how to get OBS on YouTube. That's what I was struggling with. I got to figure that out. But I could do that if you can.
I forget how to set it up.
Yeah, I have to do some. But if you can do, I should. Anyway, we can talk about this, not here. But if you can just join the Zoom call.
This is what's so great about us is we just talk about it. We don't talk about our personal lives hugely. We just talk about what we want to talk about.
But no, I guess if you want to, yeah. But if you wanted to Zoom, if you can get on the Zoom call, if I'm hosting it and running it through YouTube.
We'll talk about it in a second, but we should probably finish up the episode.
Yes, yeah. Okay, again, I'll have to remember to actually edit that part out.
Why? No, but again, like this is just, we've been doing this a year. Big thank you to everybody. This is probably not going to be the best podcast because I forgot that we are doing this for a podcast and we tried to describe images.
I think we did a pretty okay describing the images, and if not, I'll leave a link to the Twitter post in the description. Yeah,
I meant to say it at the beginning is most people who are probably going to listen to this, if not all, have probably already seen the Twitter posts. We should make sure we have links to that on our YouTube, on the podcast, is because wherever you listen to us, thank you to everybody. This has been a good year.
Yeah, thank you too.
It's been
this was a weird year to decide to start a podcast.
It's been a learning experience.
But yeah, we're so grateful to anybody that watches, listens, that chooses to interact with us. If you've talked to us on Discord, if you've talked to us on Twitter, it's honestly wonderful. We love hearing from you guys. And
let's hope that JordanCon happens so maybe we can.
Summer.
I can interact with people more, me personally, because
Ben's terrible.
I suck on the internet.
But summer 2021, hopefully.
Yeah. So if you want to try to hit us up, we're on Twitter at PodAnother. I think it's the same on Instagram.
Yep.
We got an email that you can find somehow through one thing or another. Twitter, YouTube.
We have a Discord. We have a Patreon that's still lonely and waiting for anybody to join.
Yeah, I don't understand Patreon. I don't know if it's us. Is it our content? Is it because the only people who listen to us are other content creators, and then I can understand?
It's just Leslie from Stuck on Arrakis listening to us 20 times.
Oh, okay. That's probably what it is. And she somehow uses some VPN. A VPN to fake where she's downloading it from. No, but to everybody.
We love you all, even if you're just Leslie 20 times.
Yes, and the Patreon is, I started it because if it's not there, we can't. So whether we get it or not, now it's there.
Anyway.
So you feel like giving, that's there. There's links in the things.
Mm-hmm. All right, and we'll see you the next time the wheel turns.